Can you tell us what you do and why you are doing it?
We are going to building agents for the future hiring, which means that we are going to find an end-to-end optimized solution for both applicants and companies. Where dream jobs find you. It's not you to find the jobs.
Tell me, how much would you pay for end-to-end AI engineer, including from the data side to the application side?
If it's in Silicon Valley, I think I can pay 30K a month.
Having a strong foundation is really important.
Yeah, very important. As a team leader, you have to know everything about the life cycle, about developing such kind of tools.
Do you have any prediction for the next 3 to 5 years?
I think more positions, regardless the software engineer positions, the other tech-related positions will require more knowledge about AI.
Can you tell me what you think about the current state of the job market, and is it going to change?
AI has definitely impacted the job market.
Hi, Jerry. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure to finally get to meet with you. I know you're the expert in the HR tech space, and you're building cutting edge tech that's going to change the whole human resource management industry. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do and why you are doing it?
Okay, my name is Jerry. I just graduated from Purdue and maybe just a few months ago with my PhD. Now I'm doing a startup. We are going to building agents for the future hiring, which means that we are going to find an end-to-end optimized solution for both applicants and companies. In our plan that maybe in the future, you don't have to find jobs by yourselves. Our agents can do it for you. And the companies do not have to find the candidates themselves. They can just tell what they want to the agents, and agents will do the rest part of the hiring. And the only thing that applicants and the companies will need to do is to join the interview and the rest things. So that's what we are doing.
Which means that if I want to find a job, you're saying that I don't need to hit a submit application. I don't have to go to any company's website, and I can just give your platform everything about me, like resume or portfolio, GitHub or whatever, and then you can find a job for me. And jobs will come to
Yeah,
me.
sure.
Cool.
Yeah, that's our slogan. Where dream jobs find you. It's not you to find the jobs. The dream job will come to you. Yeah, because we can analyze all your submitted information, and then we'll determine which kind of jobs may be suitable for you. For now, you can apply by yourselves, but in the future, the agents can do it for you. Yeah.
That sounds like some use case that I can imagine that we can use AI agents to automate, because we're doing a lot
Yeah.
of those kind of things manually. And on the business side, it's the same. Is this a consumer product or it's a B2B product?
Actually, it's both sides for customers and the B side. Also, we provide both sides products. Yeah, for the companies, maybe they want to save their cost, maybe reduce the cost in the hiring part because the HR they do not have to spend a lot of time in finding applicants and in analyzing their resumes. They only need to do is to tell the agents what they want to find, and then the agents will do the rest. So the HR is basically you can save maybe 90% of the regular work for HR.
You're saying that the scheduling and organization and maybe the more basic screening and finding talent part, those things are more of the low-hanging fruits to be automated, right? Okay, that makes sense. And do you have any co-founders? And how long have you been working for this company?
Actually, we launched just 3 months ago. I have three co-founders. Yeah.
Okay. What are each one of yours expertise?
Oh, the first one is for the business, the whole business, BP or BD. And another one, me, I'll be responsible for the tech part, developing the products and find the tech map. And another one is for the product design. Yeah,
Product design.
three of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like a dream team of typical Silicon Valley favored startups type, right? You have a PhD in computer science on the
Yeah.
technology side, and you have domain experts in hiring space and also a design person. All
Cool.
right. Okay. I'm glad you're here. I'm really honored to speak to someone who's in human resource management industry. I have some questions around the current state of the job market. So I know you're in the computer science space. I mean, I'm data science space. I feel like these two roles are blending in, especially in the current state of the Gen AI era. Where do you see these engineering roles heading in the next 1 to 2 years? Are companies shifting their focus from the traditional software engineers to more AI specific roles? Or they're merging these skill sets?
I think the engineering roles are experience and like interesting convergence phase over the next 1 or 2 years. What I'm observing is that it isn't a complete replacement of traditional software engineering roles with the AI roles, but it's a kind of like fusion of skill sets. Yeah, that's what means merging the skill sets. Um, Many companies they are seeking hybrid talents. Those individuals who can do engineering part can also do the AI part. So those talents are very welcome in the job market now. The traditional software engineering fundamentals remain crucial, pretty important because you have to know what you should do to develop apps and software systems, right? But we are seeing engineers expected to understand and integrate AI components. This isn't a either or solution,
Mhm.
but a skill extension. For an engineer, you have to learn something about AI, right? Engineers need to know how to build systems that are both reliable and leverage the AI capabilities.
Do you have a rough estimate of what percentage of those engineer roles are requiring some level of AI capabilities?
I think for some entry level engineers, you only have to know how to leverage AI APIs. That's the basic thing, right?
Right.
And for some high level knowledge, maybe you have to know how to implement a AI model. For example, implement a large language model on multiple GPUs and provide stable services to others. And if you are maybe you want to be expert in a large language model or AI area, maybe you have to know how to train such kind of model.
Mm.
You have to know the structure of the model, maybe, for example, the transformer structure or other structures. Yeah.
Are these roles still distinguished in a way? Oftentimes we see that roles defined as front-end engineers and back-end engineers. Are they still called in those names with an AI enabled component in the job description?
Yeah, they still like these things. It still has back end and the front end engineers. But maybe the difference is that from the previous job description is that they maybe require some AI knowledge.
Mm.
For example, if you are front end engineer, maybe they will require you to know some basic knowledge of how to use AI to write some code. You, for example, use the cursor or use the cloud to write some very long and very exactly the same code. You can use the AI to finish this kind of part of the job.
That's interesting. You mentioned about using copilot type of things to
Yeah,
accelerate, right? Is that being part of the interview process? You're saying it's in the job description. So actually companies want engineers to be able to leverage these AI
yeah,
tools? Really?
yeah. I've seen more and more companies or teams welcome such kind of skills because, especially for those small teams, they want their employees to be more productive. So the copilot like cursor, those things can definitely help the small team to grow up pretty fast. Yeah.
How do companies or your platform distinguish like good engineers from the not so experienced engineers when
Oh,
you're allowing that, right, in the interview process?
no, that's not allowed because this little bit cheating. I know there's a lot of interview copilot will help you like to
Right.
do the same thing when you are interviewing, they will provide you with the answers. But those things in our platform is definitely forbidden because we do not want our B-side customers to be like fooled or whatever. Yeah. But in the reality, in the job market, those skills are important. You have to know how to use the Copilot, but it's not welcome during the interview.
So it's not used in the interview process.
Yeah.
They will put in the job description and prefer people who are actually familiar with those tools. So,
Yes.
but is this something that a hiring manager will ask the candidates? Do you use Cursor or those kind of co-pilots or things like that? How do you evaluate my skills in using
Oh,
these tools?
you mean during the interview to,
Right, right.
like oh, well, that's simple because, for example, using cursor, there's some like pathway, some certain commands you can use those things to evaluate whether they are familiar with. For example, that's very simple actually. If you want to, you can give him a case, right? For example, help me develop a small apps.
Mhm.
Then the candidate tell what he should do step by step, what kind of prompt he should do, and even he can show a live demo on how to build such kind of apps with the Copilot.
Mm,
Yeah.
I see. Okay. On the same topic, I read an article recently and I can share. and I'm wondering what you think. It's talking about technical debt from engineers striving for faster development using those copilot tools. There were some debate around using it without putting a lot of thinking in it because people want to try to chase the speed of delivering. And it does
Yeah.
help, right? But then less attention is paid to the quality of the code, which drives an accumulation of technical debt. Do you think this is true? And are people doing something? Or
Actually, I've talked about this topic with some co-founders or CTOs in some startups. We agree that some employees may use the copilot to finish job pretty quick. They do not think, they do not care about reliability. They
right.
just put the code and push the code to the GitHub. That's sometimes risky. So we think that we should train our team to how to use such kind of copilots in a proper way. We should let them know the speed is not the most important thing. The reliability is the most important thing. They can use such kind of tools, of course, because it's definitely very efficient, right? But they have to know, they have to check the code, they have to verify the code, and the leaders should be responsible for the code review. So I think it's not a big problem actually for a small team to use Copilot. Only if you can build a workflow to do the code review, to train the team to how to use the Copilot. Yeah.
So it sounds like it's more of a management, like a culture thing. You still have to
Yeah.
abide by those best practices of engineers from many years of development. That part is not change. Is not really changing. The core
Yeah.
principles is not changing.
Yeah.
Do you have a sense of which industries are driving these demand for AI literacy in engineer roles? Is there some industries that specifically want that skills, like vertical?
Actually, for now, I think the most popular for those engineers, maybe they will go to some startups like who may focus on AI coding because this AI coding is definitely the biggest success in the Gen AI in the recent years. This area, there are lots of startups in developing such kind of coding tools. They need more talents in the AI area. Sometimes they do not need software like the traditional roles, but they need AI engineers. That's very interesting
Hmm.
because I knew some team they only have the AI experts. They don't have like software as a back end or front end roles. That's very interesting. Yeah.
So they start with let's hire people who are experienced AI engineers and who grew from the AI side of things, not from the
Yeah.
traditional software. Is there any problem with that when you're
Yeah, that's yeah, there could
pushing
be
it?
some problems.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I think a team should not be like this. You should have some traditional roles. They can help you build up a reliable system. And with the AI expert, you can develop your AI applications. Those people should work together. But I don't know, maybe they are talents. I don't know. They can handle everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm seeing data science roles also merging towards AI
Yes.
because we train models, so we understand the training part more and less about maybe
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
software part. Yeah, we're all
Yeah.
merging.
As far as I can see, data scientist is actually a part of the life cycle of AI engineer because as a AI engineer, you have to clean the data, you have to analyze the data, and then you can decide which kind of model you should use, and again, you can train your model. So it's not kind of merging; it's kind of like to include into the life cycle. I think it's more likely like that to include the responsibility to be included in the AI side.
Do you think the skill sets our employers want are more end to end now? Because you do have to deal with data, and data can be quite complex. You have the data engineer and then the modeling piece, and then you build integration with any of the AI APIs or the AI modeling, whatever is required. And then you have the machine learning ops side, right? The AI ops side as well. And then you have the deployment and integrating to a software, the user interface as well. So do you think these roles are gonna merge into you just want people who have end-to-end full stack?
Just like, yeah, I think the job market is expecting more such kind of roles who can do data analysis and AI training and AI deployment. Yeah, those people are pretty welcome in the job market now. And the public salary for those are also very promising.
Now tell me, how much would you pay for end-to-end AI engineer, including from the data side to the application side?
If it's in Silicon Valley, I think I can pay uh 30K a month.
30K a month? Okay, so
Yeah.
300K
So
above.
yeah. Base salary.
Are those talents, like, having this end-to-end experience more rare?
Very rare, very rare. But I think there will be more such kind of people will join that team because it's like those students realize that such kind of role is very welcome. So more and more people will learn the basic stuffs of data science and machine learning and machine engineering. Yeah, and more.
Which program should those students come from? This is really important because data science and statistics have their own programs at school, and then software engineer has their own program. And I think a lot of universities are having AI related programs as well, which blends in different things, right? Which program do you think are more likely to have to educate these end to end full stack engineers?
I think it still should come from the traditional computer science. Because as an engineer, regardless you are traditional ones or the AI ones, you have to know some basic things about how the computer is working. You have to know the basic, the fundamental things of the computer architectures, and you have to know how the CPU, GPU is running and how to allocate their resources. That's very important. And as for maybe some very SOTA knowledge of AI, you can read some front papers, you can join some conferences, or you can learn it by yourself. You can go to YouTube to see some like channels just like you
Yes.
to learn more about it.
Yeah, having a strong foundation is really important.
Yeah, very important. I just realized those things after I graduated because as a team leader, you have to know everything about the life cycle about developing such kind of tools. Especially when you are deploying on the cloud, you have to know the basic things, right? If you just know how to coding some like algorithms, it's not far away enough.
Right, if you only know
Yes.
training models, that's not definitely not enough to build a product. So now we're seeing a lot of layoffs in big tech now and startups.
Yes.
Wow. Google is no longer like the golden bowl of you have security for life. And also big companies are freezing hiring as well. Those companies don't guarantee that anymore. At least it's not the public perception anymore. New grads from computer science programs, they're facing fierce competition. They're saying it's a lot harder this year to find jobs. Can you tell me what you think about the current state of the job market? And is it going to change?
I think current job market is a little bit better than the previous 2 years. First, more companies are recruiting more software engineer related jobs or CS related jobs. And the AI has definitely impacted the job market because more traditional industry like healthcare, they are recruiting software CS related experts to help them to join such kind of AI revolution. So I think the market is becoming better now, but it still cannot be compared with before the pandemic.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. For those new grads, I think you can do some like open source projects to gain more experience because most of the new grads they don't have an internship, but the companies they all want to find some like experienced new grads. That's a paradox, right? You cannot give me the job. How can I get my experience? So
Uh,
for those new grads, if you want to be more competitive in this day, in these years, in the CS related job market, do some open source projects. Even you can do a long term projects, or just you can start a very small company by yourself. You can do it as well. You can do a startups, and even though you failed, but you gain some experience. Yeah, that's my suggestions. Before this project I'm doing now, I did 3 startups during my PhD. But very small projects, but I learned a lot from it. Yeah.
I want to ask more about that. But before we encourage all our audience to jump off the cliff to build their own company, I want to ask like, if you're a CS major graduate or you're a software engineer already, and let's say if you don't have the AI skills, then you can learn some of that on the side. Do open
Yes.
source project or read something, watch some YouTube videos. There are tons of resources out there. And if they want to transition a little bit to move on to the next level or catch up to stay ahead, you're saying that the industries that they could be looking into is traditional industry because they want to transform, right? So they may need
Ye
a lot of those roles versus the big tech, right?
yes. Yeah. The new grads can spend more time on new startups or some traditional companies. If you just focus on the big tech companies, then it's very competitive. A lot of people will want to be joining those companies. So just choose another industry or in other companies. That would be better. Yeah.
Right. When I graduated many years ago, everybody's like, you gotta go to Google or the big tech, Facebook and or iBank. Those kind of things are more desirable versus there are a lot of startups compared with,
Yes.
years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, now the startups are pretty active. That's because they are recruiting more and more people. And I know in the USA, even there are some the new grads or the current students, they want to join the startups. They even want to do volunteer job.
Mm.
That's very interesting. And they want to do no payment job in the in startups. But my opinion is that only if this startup is like a full star company, full star startups, you can learn a lot from it and you can do it.
What
Yeah.
does that mean?
Because if their startups are very famous or very welcome in the market by those capitals,
Mhm.
then you can definitely join this team as a volunteer. And you can gain some experience in that team. And those guys are pretty maybe excellent. They can teach you something. You can learn something from it.
Those are still very competitive as well. What do you think is the difference between working for a startup versus working for bigger companies?
In a startup, you have to be responsible for more parts. It's not just only a very small part. If you are in a tech big company, you only have to do what they want you to do. For example, just to maintain the database. That's small part of the whole life cycle. But in startups, maybe you have to be responsible for like deployment, deploy the database and optimize the database, and you have to help others to use the database correctly. That's totally different than in the big tech companies. Well, you will learn more about how to develop a product, but you definitely will be more stressful. Yeah.
If you were to give some advice to someone who's a new graduate or people who wants to transition or move on to the next stage for their career, what's your suggestion? Do you have any suggestion of where they should begin?
There's no best answer for this question actually, because different people has different interests. For those CS students currently, maybe they just want to find a job. They do not care what kind of roles they are working on. I know some of the excellent PhDs, they graduated, they just jump into the maybe do the front end engineer. Some of them doing the back end engineers, and most of them definitely do the AI part or the data science part. My suggestion is, mm, in recent years, we face such kind of terrible job market. Find a job first, and you can find maybe some interesting positions in the coming 2 years, and then you can jump to that position. But you have to get a job first. Yeah.
That when we are graduating, we always think that, okay, whatever is out there, accept us. We're just gonna do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sell our whole soul. Do you have any prediction for the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years around the job market? What do you think is going to change?
I think more positions, regardless the software engineer positions, the other tech related positions will require more knowledge about AI. Even if you are a product engineer or manager, you have to know more knowledge about AI than today's. So more people will maybe learn how to code with AI, learn how to even how to train AI and how to deploy AI. Yeah.
So it sounds like AI literacy is part of a growing demand. You probably have to learn it. So do something now,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. But another prediction is that the AI related jobs will like increasing, but the traditional ones may decrease. Yeah.
Can you tell more? What kind of roles are going to be more?
Some very fundamental or very basic roles like front end engineers, very entry level decrease because I can do this part in the future. Every day, actually, we should ask ourselves, will my work be replaced by a AI coder? Because yeah, every day we should ask ourselves actually.
That's a really good advice. So we talked a lot about the tech roles. What about the non-tech roles? Do you think product managers, other domain professionals, do you think their roles can be affected?
They should know. They should know because, for example, if you're HR, you have to know how to use AI. Some advanced AI usage tools, you have to know these things, right? You have to know how to use AI to speed up your work. And as for those managers who are like financial managers or whatever, you have to also know about AI. The first thing is that it can definitely help you to speed up your work. And another thing is that as a manager, you have to have the AI sense because in your product or in your team, having the AI sense is important. Yeah, in the future.
Yeah, what's your suggestion for non-technical people? What about AI they should learn? How should they begin?
They can learn some basic things. They only have to know some basic concepts, and they can watch some like channels like yours, and they can like go to YouTube to find some like, very fundamental and very easy to follow channels to learn some basic concepts. They do not have to know the very fundamental things about AI. They do not have to know how transformer is working. They just need to know how to use the tools. I think that's enough. Yeah.
Do you think they might have to learn a little bit about coding or more about tool usage?
This is only tool usage. They only have to know of course, if they want to learn coding, that's good. But maybe in the future, everyone is the product manager. You can use the AI copilot to develop a small demo pretty soon. Yeah, you don't have to code by yourself. You only have to tell what you want. Yeah.
For the companies you're working with, do you know if there are any reallocation of hiring budgets towards different roles, like more AI towards roles or more traditional roles? Is there any change in those budget allocation?
Yeah, our customers shows that because they want more AI related jobs. Not only the AI engineers, maybe some AI scientists or data scientists. Yeah, but the software or traditional ones, they I can see the
Is it
number is
decreased?
decreased.
What
Yeah.
percentage? Can you give a number?
In the past 2 years, I saw a stats that shows that the AI related positions doubled compared to 2 years ago. Yeah.
The demand is very overwhelming in a sense because we now are required to learn a whole lot of things in the full stack pipeline. And I'm going to add one more thing, domain specific knowledge. Are the engineers going to be required or more desired if they have domain experience? Like, let's say healthcare or finance.
Yeah, because I have such kind of feelings that um the companies are recruiting those people who can solve the problem. Who can solve the problem is that those guys who know the business, for example, in healthcare. You not only know how to coding, you also know what's happening in your business, right? In the healthcare industry. So those people are expecting uh, welcome in the job market. Yeah.
The thing is, there are still a lot of applicants for each role. How do you think an engineer or a candidate can really stand out? There's so many steps I need to pass, right? I have to get my resume be reviewed by hiring manager, let's say you, and something has to grab your attention, and I have to pass the interview stage as well. How do I present myself in a way that you think it is gonna give an advantage?
So the suggestion for someone to stand out in like a job application is to show your benefits because all the companies they are using like ATS to help them collect and screening those candidates. In your resume, you can highlight some skills they are desired in the job description. You can highlight those kind of skills, and you can highlight your highly related work experience. Then those you will have more chance. Your resume will be have more chance to be selected. During the interview, you can talk more about the details, what you are doing your previous work to help the company solve the problem and then to reduce the cost or whatever. I think, yeah, for all the job applicants in the recent years is very hard. Uh, they are be selected. They're not like to select jobs. They are selected better jobs. For everyone, it's pretty hard. Yeah.
I want to ask because a lot of our audience are very technical. So, in terms of more detailed skill sets in AI, what is more in demand? For instance, knowledge about things like RAG, retrieval augmented generation, search related, or multimodality, or large language models, or let's say vision models.
Okay.
Deployment. Which one is more
Yeah.
in demand?
Yeah. Now, as far as I can see, those in the job market, one kind of skill are very welcome and very important is model inference. You should know how to speed up the model inferencing, right? But this role requires very fundamental understanding of large models and the computer architecture, especially for the GPUs or CPUs. So this kind of person in the job market is very welcome. They get a lot of payment.
Oh, this is like
Yeah.
the job market secret. What about the second one?
Second one is, I think, is how to use the database, the vector database. If you can use the vector database, then you can develop like RAG, right? You can do some non-RAG retrieving or the search part because in the searching area, you can also use the vector database. And in the recommendation area, you can also use the vector database.
Right.
But currently, using those database is still in a very early stage. We have to know how to use a vector, use vectors in a proper way,
Mhm.
including how to use the vector database. Yeah,
Interesting.
that's the second thing. Yeah.
What are you seeing missing about candidates not understanding how to use a vector database? What's missing? Are you seeing any pattern or
Mm. Because I think is that they just follow what the others told them to create a vector database
right?
to create embeddings. But for some specific area, for example, in a hiring area, the database, the vectors may fool you or may just cannot work as expected because in different areas, those embeddings should have specific domain knowledge. They have to be fine-tuned so they can work. But most of people just use a general or a universal embedding model to do the embedding. So sometimes the similarity may fool you. Yeah.
Right.
So my suggestion is to fine-tune your own embedding model in your area so that you can get better results.
Model fine tuning is a pretty technical area as well, the same as inferencing, right? What
Yeah.
about model evaluation, like observability and
Oh,
evaluation?
that's important because I have seen a lot of people like just fine-tune their models. They generated, maybe they use the advanced models to generate some data, right? They want to improve the model's performance in that small area, but they forget that maybe even fine-tuning may disrupt the performance of the model in other areas. So we have to have a like better evaluation matrix. You not only have to evaluate the performance in your small area, you have to see whether this model is not corrupted or poisoned by your generated
Got it.
data.
Exactly, exactly. That's a whole very deep topic on, and maybe another time. How important do you think soft skill is for these roles?
Communication is
Mm.
always the most important in a team. You have to communicate with your leader, you have to communicate with your coworkers because you only have to share your ideas, your AI ideas, or your software sense to the others, then you can build a reliable system. Because I know some people who can work by themselves. I just want to work alone and they just spend days, weeks, or even months to build a module, but this module cannot work with the other modules. That's terrible. So communication is important. Communication should be like in time communication. You should, only if you have any concerns or questions, talk to your coworkers and the leaders, and we can discuss it together to solve the problem. Yeah.
Oftentimes, I think a lot of the candidates or the students that I talk with don't realize how important communication skills are.
Yes.
Would you say that communication skills are in comparison with the technical skills? How important
Sure.
the communication skills?
Yeah, because in a team, we want those people who can communicate with us. We can find like some who are pretty professional in pretty good in coding, but they're not going to talk with you. That's not good. We want some people who can share the ideas, who can communicate with the others, who can, for example, you can explain your code to your coworkers. That's important. You can not only leave some comments. That's not enough. You have to explain those things to the others. Yeah.
And then would you say communication, technicals,
Yeah.
they're at least equally important? In this day and age, I think we need to stress a little bit more about how important that is. And people are focusing heads down on learning new things and building things, but they sometimes forget about right? They will
Yeah, if you are still in school, you can just focus on technology. You
right,
can focus on developing yourself skills. But in a team, you have to work as a team, right?
right,
Yeah.
absolutely. One last question.
Mm.
Okay, what is one thing that you wish every AI engineer knew before applying for jobs?
Mm. They should read the big lessons, the very famous ones, the big lessons that now developing a stable or reliable AI systems requires still is the computing powers. A lot of AI engineers try to optimize such kind of system by use some like they developed algorithms to optimize the workflow. But those things cannot work. Those may not work in the future. Because if you want to make sure your system can work stable or as expected, just use more computing powers or use more tokens. Yeah, that's my suggestion. Read the beta lesson. It still works.
Oh, yeah. But our topic around job market and the future of AI engineers and the blending of roles of different like traditional software and data scientists and also the AI engineers. Did I miss anything? Is there any questions that I should ask you that I haven't?
I think that you have asked most of the questions. I think that, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's a really insightful session with you. Thanks for sharing all your wisdom working in the hiring industry and being in this boat with all of us, like looking adapt to the AI era and finding jobs or finding career transitions or progression. For us, what happened to your three projects when you were in PhD?
Oh,
Older
when
question.
when I was in my third year, I started a company. It's also about hiring in hiring industry. I developed a resume tailormation, like such kind of tools to help you get a better resume. It's very early stage of how to use the large language models to do such kind of things. I have to believe I'm the first one to do that. But because just I'm a student, I didn't spend a lot of time on it. Mm, When I realized that, when I realized that it's important, I found that in the job market, a lot of such kind of similar tools, so I gave up. That's the
Mm,
first thing. Another thing is that I did a project to help the non-residents of the USA to help them to get green card. I developed a tool to help them to automatically or to smartly to prepare all those documents.
mm,
Yeah.
that sounds useful.
Yeah, but it's not controllable. It's no people would like to try these things because these AI generated documents. So I gave it up. The third one is we're going to build a next generation communication apps. This apps is like use AI to use different um, AI agents in the social network to help you communicate with each others.
Mm.
You can communicate with your friend by yourself, and when you are like asleep, your friend can communicate with your agents like this thing.
So like it's your digital twin, so you are available to chat
Yeah,
anytime. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, but this project, the other guys, my co-founders, did not want to continue, so we give it
I
up.
see. Yeah, that's one of the challenge, right, in front of
Yeah,
a company.
yeah,
But it could be a very useful tool. Yeah.
yeah, probably.
Perfect.
But yeah, so now I'm owning my current project because we have a better team. Yeah, everyone is owning this project, so it's more promising. Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck with this project. And maybe for another time we can chat more about founder journey if you're open to it. Yeah.
I have lots of experience in
The
it.
horror
Yeah.
stories and loving stories. We love to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you talk to 100 investors, maybe 90% of them will like,
Really nice chatting today, Jerry. We welcome you to this podcast and I hope to talk with you again soon.
okay, sure.
Sounds good. Thank you. See you next time.